Hello, and welcome to White Collar Advice. No. Welcome everyone, Justin Paperny with White Collar Advice here today to talk about prison. No feels a little forced. That sucked. If you're going to prison, you probably need some help. Our team can help. No. How can I do it better? Wasting a lot of time here. Welcome everyone. Everyone on our team has experienced time through the criminal justice system. No. Would you like a free book? That sucked too. Trying to be too perfect will ruin your prison term. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video today. A very good friend of mine in federal prison was Andrew Alchek. Met him the first day in federal prison, introduced me to running. Very witty, very funny, liked him very much. He died in federal prison March 21st, 2010. And a tragedy to his death in part includes a beautiful manuscript that he wrote that both Michael Santos and I read. And Michael is a prolific writer and a good critic of writers, said Andrew's a really good writer. He's witty, he's funny. It's a shame that Andrew's book never made it to the world. And it should have been sent and distributed to the world because he wrote it years before he passed away. Yet after he'd write it, he'd edit, and then he'd edit again, and then he'd edit again. And I used to joke with him that Michael Santos, my now business partner, could write 3 books in the time that Andrew would edit his only book. And Michael loved to say, and still says to this day, done is better than perfect. That's what I want all of you to be thinking about while you are in federal prison. And frequently, I will get calls from defendants telling me, well, they're concerned about what people think, or they have these ideas of what they hope to do in prison, but what if it's not good enough? Well, what if people don't like it? To begin, I think you have to be a sociopath if you're not concerned about what people think. People say it all the time. Oh, I'm not concerned about what people think. I don't care. I do. Odds are you do as well. It's illogical to live life claiming that you don't care about what people think. So it's natural. You have to understand as you're traversing the system, you are kind of suddenly an underdog. So while for so long things have gone your way, perhaps, reputation, profession, money, income, status in your community as a result of this experience, you've got to rebrand. You've got to start over in some cases from scratch. So I can't have excuses like, well, the writing isn't good enough. I can't have excuses like, what are people going to think? I can't have those things stopping you. So if you are so concerned about what people think, in my experience, you're not focusing on bigger goals. You're not obsessed about the next right thing to do. You're not focusing on the right things because you're concerned about people with whom you may never see or speak with again, what they think of you. So getting back to Andrew, he said openly when I would walk with him to the chow hall or while we'd walk the track, we would frequently walk 2 or 3 laps together before we'd go for our 10 or 11 mile run. He'd say, it can be better. It can be better. It can be better. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it. And in so doing, he was in that singular pursuit of perfection. And despite advising him, done is better than perfect, as I'm advising all of you, done is better than perfect. I think it was the CEO of LinkedIn who said, if you're not somewhat embarrassed about your first product or the first thing that you try to create, you've taken too long. You've wasted too much time. You've got to put it out there. Then you can document what you're attempting or trying to do. You've got to get it out there for the world to see. Then if you continue with it, you will see progress and traction. In my experience, sometimes people they use it as an excuse. So they say, well, I've never written before. I've never spoken before. I've only been a doctor. I've only been a lawyer. So I can't do anything else, so I'm not going to start. Well, part of it is, I think, that fear of rejection, fear of what people think, but also they've had honed and mastered their craft over decades. The thought of starting and failing is humbling. Starting and failing is humbling. If you approach it from that perspective, it will be very difficult to begin. In my case, with the help of Michael Santos, who I said, I don't want to write. I don't want to speak openly about this. I've only been a stockbroker or real estate agent. With his advice and really support and mentorship, tutelage, he got me to think differently and said, put it out there for the world to judge and hold you accountable. And you can make improvements, and over time you can see that progress and growth. So that's what I want for all of you. It is a cop-out, to use some prison vernacular, to say, well, I can't do that. I'm not good enough at it. That's an excuse. It's a rationalization to not begin. If you are so concerned about what people think, and I love Andrew and I miss him, and I frequently, I get a lot of messages from people who are friends with Andrew Alchek. Witty, funny, smart, sharp, really had an impact on my life. I think about him frequently. I was at the Pantry in downtown Los Angeles on a Sunday, March 21st, when I heard that he died. And it was devastating to me because of the impact he had on my life. Yet I couldn't get through to him. And I know if he were here, his book would probably be out 10, 11, 12 years later and really be influencing a lot of people. But it's something that it should have happened from custody. It's something that it would be impacting the world in really great ways, because I read it and it was terrific. I want you to learn from these stories. I want you to embrace what Michael Santos taught me when I was very insecure. And I said, I can't believe we're writing this, and I can't believe we're putting this out there. What if people don't like it? I remember we had this conversation. It was Valentine's Day, 2009, and I was writing. I told him, I said, I miss women. And am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to have children? I'm a convicted felon. What's that going to be like, telling a woman I got out of jail? He said, well, why don't you write about it? Why don't you document what it feels like to be in prison, separated from the fairer gender, and what you miss and what you're looking for? And I said, even then, so what do people think? What are they going to do? And I just did it. So I didn't let the fears and excuses stop me. I just continued to push forward, and I continued to push forward. And then once you gain momentum, like Michael did, with his writing. I'm not even holding up Earning Freedom, which is a 150,000 word book he wrote in 3 or 4 months, a book that all of you should read. By gaining momentum and not fearing failure and embarrassment, I just continued to gain traction. So when I came home from prison and I began speaking, some of my initial events were awful. There were people drooling and sleeping in the front row because I was reciting my book in blogs, and I wasn't a honed speaker. But I did it. And then I got better the next time. And I got better the next time. And within a year or so of my release, I was speaking to nearly 10,000 people in a large auditorium or a large room in DC. It all started by saying, I'm going to embrace some failure, some potential embarrassment of lecturing where it's not great, writing some things that in retrospect look foolish. But I'm not going to try to be perfect. We're not perfect. We're human beings. We fail. We make mistakes. I want you to embrace it. I want you to try. And if people are going to judge you for mistakes that you've made or things that you have written, you should reconsider if you need them in your life. Now, to close, many people have good intentions, right? We tend to associate with people who have similar beliefs and values. That's okay. But again, as I said earlier, while going through the system, you've got to learn to think differently. You can't quite go toe-to-toe with people anymore because you're a convicted felon with these releases. You've got to embrace new things. You've got to try new things and come to find some joy in the struggle, in the pain, as I did after I gave a lecture one time in front of 1,500 people, and halfway through I said, this is awful. This is terrible, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to improve. I'm going to work harder, and I did. All of you can do it. Do not rationalize that you have to be perfect, therefore you won't begin. It's okay to be concerned with what people think, but if you spend too much time on that, it's just distracting from bigger priorities in your life. I miss my friend Andrew Alchek. I wish his book was out there for the world to read. I want your book to be out there for the world to read. I want your website through prison to be documented for case managers to review, for your family to review. And if you got some typos or some grammatical structure errors, or if you write things in retrospect that you don't agree or believe in, who cares? Get started. Then you'll know when to pivot. Done is Done is the enemy of perfect. Perfect is the enemy of done. I've said it 3 times in this video. I don't need to be perfect. Who cares? You get it. Get started. If you'd like to speak with our team, we are available. Thank you. Subscribe and like if you found value in this video. Goodbye.